Okay. And so that way.
Yeah. And what's nice is you'll see the blue suits working around behind us and stuff. 3. All right. Doug Wolfe is president of Response Technologies. You coordinate this hazardous materials competition. Why do you get involved with something like this?
Well, all of us that are on the team that develop the competition and all the evaluation stations are passionate about hazardous materials. Most of the people have 25, 30 years in the business, and they just want to transfer their knowledge to other people that are coming up in the field.
Well, that's terrific. Now, this competition, 8 years running, how has it changed from year one to what we're seeing today?
Well, we started off doing actually the competition came out of a evaluation system that we developed for a regional team to help identify what their training needs were for the next 18 months. Well, once we developed that, the Florida HazMat Symposium approached us and said, why don't you turn this into a competition? So the first couple of years we were at the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach. Then we moved to the Plaza Hotel right on the ocean. In January, when it gets down to about 28 degrees, it makes it much better to come out here to Volusia Fire Training Facility. We got a tremendous amount of space. We can sequester the teams in here so nobody can interrupt the process, and it just makes it much more operational.
Now, you talked about the evaluation versus a competition. Why a competition? What's the difference between an evaluation and a competition?
The evaluation rubrics for a training needs analysis are a lot more detailed. But the very basics of both of these is getting back to the basics of being a hazardous materials technician. We're not doing the advanced skills. We're not doing the advanced technologies like FTIR, Raman, GC, mass spec. We feel that it's real important that teams get back to basics, because a very good friend of mine once said there's a term called Osium razor, which means that usually the simplest process is the best way to answer a problem.
It's terrific. Now, what else is Response Technologies involved with in the field of hazmat?
Well, we do training nationally. We have training programs in hazardous materials safety officer. We provide hazardous materials technician training. We do consulting with private industry on occupational safety and health industries. And we do the competitions and operational readiness evaluations for hazmat teams.
Okay, we've got a young person, a hazmat team leader or responder who's thinking about becoming a part of this competition, maybe wanting to participate, but they're not sure. What would you say to them?
Come out and try it. Come out and try it. A lot of teams are reluctant because they don't want to show their weaknesses. But you know, you come out the first year, you find out how it works. In fact, at the HazMat Symposium, we do a briefing every year to educate them about what the process is. And they can come in and listen to that and see what it's all about. They're also welcome to come out here and observe from the sidelines. But the best way to do it is get your feet wet and jump in. Because the first year you may learn, the second year you may win.
Oh, that's terrific. Now, we do have a lot of folks out there watching who might be saying, why do a competition? What do you think these men and women are getting out of this activity?
It's a test of their skills. It's a reinforcement of why they've learned what they've learned and why they do what they do. And it's the camaraderie of working with other teams. We have a great award ceremony party on Wednesday night after the competition, brings everybody together. The networking, the applying of what you've learned and why you're doing it, that's what's important about this.
And now let's talk about you. You've been involved with hazardous materials for a long time, since I believe the 1980s?
1985 I got involved in hazmat as a result of training by the U.S. Coast Guard National Strike Force.
What do you get out of this?
This is passion. This is, you know, I retired from the fire service in 2013, and this is passion. This is relaying information to the new people that are coming on board, hoping to build new leaders for the future. It's absolutely passion for all of us on the main team.
Anything else you'd want to tell the folks watching?
Get involved. Get out here. Compete. It's worth it. And you don't have to be just from Florida to compete. We've had out-of-state teams come in and compete. It's not just for Florida teams. Anybody's welcome to come down, and if you live up in the cold north, January's not a bad place to be in Florida.
Thank you, Doug.
Have a great day.
That was terrible.
Like retire.
Ready?
Yep.
You're in a good place? All right. Very good. Keith Williams, what is your position here today, and what are you looking for out of these teams?
I am the exterior division chief in charge of the outside activities here at the competition today. What we're looking for is all the personnel that are going to be competing in this need to be properly equipped, properly protected with their equipment, PPE, and follow safe engineering practices and safety practices for each evolution.
And what types of scene setup are you looking for from them? What are some of the general response priorities you're looking for them to follow?
One of the things is number one is recognize what the apparent hazard is. Each of the scenarios are set up that they're slightly different, and we're looking for them to be able to successfully mitigate under safety guidelines and practices, to be able to reduce the hazard to the environment and to others.
Very good. Thank you very much, and have a good competition.
Thank you.
Competition. We're talking with Paul Olsen. Paul, what is your responsibilities here today? We've been watching you in the dress out station.
Yes, I'm the dress out coordinator for the evolution. So I'm coordinating all the activities in the dress out, the team's getting in their PPE and the right equipment, the PPE for the
What are you looking for them to do in there? I mean, besides dress out, are there certain steps that a team should be going through that you're evaluating?
Yeah, what we're looking for is that the main thing is that the team has a defined leader, and the leader's going through his process, that he's organized, he has a process, he's requesting pre-entry vitals and also a pre-entry brief, and also making sure that he's back briefing the team and that the team's ready to go and fully dressed out in the PPE before they head downrange.
Now, why are you involved with a competition like this? What does this do for you?
Well, it's because I work for Response Technologies, so I enjoy coming to the competition because I can see, gives me a chance to look at how other teams are doing things. I feel it keeps me proficient in my skills as a hazmat technician and a leader for as a lieutenant with the Sarasota County Fire Department. And so then that way I keep kind of keep current with things, and also kind of refresh my memory and keep my mind working.
It's excellent. And what do you think, why do you think these teams are here? What do you think these responders get out of this competition?
I feel it helps them stay proficient in their skills. It helps them come together as a team, and then they can be evaluated as their team, their skills, that what they're doing is valid as a team, kind of validates their procedures possibly as a team, and helps them evaluate their proficiency, that they're doing the right things, and they're working together as a team, and able to complete a hazmat mission.
Excellent, thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell the folks who are watching, responders, new responders, or people in your own community?
Just that new responders, just stay, kind of stay current, stay proficient, stay in the job, keep building skills, keep reviewing, keep expanding your knowledge, and keep seeking out new knowledge and new information.
Great information. Thank you, Paul. Thanks, big guy. Thanks so much for allowing us to come out here and interview you during one of your breaks. Please, we've been watching you and the teams work on this cylinder. Tell us what this cylinder is and what are you looking for out of the teams?
Yeah, this is a DOT 406 tanker that we took a cell out of, and we have a simulator out here. So we're simulating that a vehicle was driving and turned a corner too sharp and hit an object which put a tear in the tank, and so now the fluid's coming out of the tank. So the hazmat teams are being called here to put a ladder patch on, some type of a patch, either air patch or ladder patch, but all we have is ladder patches here today, so that's what it would be, that would be what they're doing. Yeah.
So what type of contents would be in this tanker truck that they might be dealing with?
What we're considering it to be is a non-flammable material, so that way they can enter in. It's a toxic material but non-flammable, so they're going to enter in level A suits is what they're basically going to do. So it'll be a pesticide type material, say.
Okay, so that way they don't have to, what would be the additional steps they'd have to take if it was something that's very common on the streets in tankers like this, gasoline?
Oh, gasoline would be a totally different environment because we'd have to foam, also have to be in bunker gear instead of level A suits, obviously, you know. Yeah.
Generally speaking, what strengths are you seeing that these teams are bringing to this competition?
We've had 3 groups go through so far. All of them done. They've at least got the patch on and completed the task. We're dealing with leadership, communications, that type of thing. The patch is part of the event, but if they get the patch on and get it sealed, it may still leak, but they've intervened and made it better. So that's only part of it. A lot of it's teamwork, coordination, and the leader taking charge and making sure that they're getting the right material and not returning back to the table several times, that type thing.
So not just technical skills, but
right.
People skills, management?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's important. You have 2 or 3 people and they're strong-willed, and some people start doing one thing and another person does another thing. That's what we're looking for, is whether they're working as a team and have unity and not wasting any energy or time, or are they running back to the table, going to change plans or something like that. It's always fun to watch, because the wheels are turning, you can tell, and things are they're like, one guy will go like, let's do it this way, another guy will go, let's do it this way. So that's really the leadership taking over and making sure they do it one way.
You've been in this business for a number of years now. Why are you still involved with this? What does this mean to you?
I enjoy coming over here and seeing everybody and staying in touch. I was 25 years on the hazmat team. I was actually the commander for Pinellas County for 14 years. And so, I've been retired now almost 6 years. I still teach at the academy, so I still got my hand in it, and I don't know, one day I guess I'll give it up, but it's just fun coming over here and watching people work and going through the process, yeah.
If you would, what got you interested in being on the Pinellas County Hazardous Materials team?
Well, believe it or not, a guy named Dan Jones came walking over one day. He was my operations chief, and he said, we're going to start this team, and we're going to have this group together and go out and do hazardous materials. And I live in Pinellas County. We live in a peninsula where basically all the runoff goes into either the bay or the Gulf, and so it's a pristine place. And so it seemed like a cool thing to do, and I love it. Actually, I teach it at teach 160 class here in the area. I teach at the academy, doing hazmat stuff, and so I don't know. I just fell into that. I was a tech guy for a long time too, tech rescue guy. So, yeah.
Is there any other important messages you'd want to tell somebody who's watching this? Now, remember, this could be a peer. It could be a new person getting into the career. Right. It could be a citizen in your community back home.
Well, I like to think that everybody, it doesn't matter what fire you go to, it's a hazardous material incident. If there's a release of chemicals and it's either somebody's garage or it's mixing, or the chemicals being released from pipes and interior furnishings. So you're at a hazmat call whether you like it or not. And people go, I don't want to be a hazmatter. Well, you are a hazmatter, except I know what I'm getting into. You don't know what you're getting into if you're just a firefighter. So I think hazmat, is the basis of what we do. Even on a fire, we have contamination, and we have chemicals being mixed and runoff and all that stuff, and you're there whether you like it or not. So that's why, to me, I think hazmat's the best place to be, because you're the most educated guy on the and probably if you look at some of the rank structure, you'll see a lot of the guys migrate up the rank because of hazmat. They're just well educated, continuing ed all the time, so a lot of good classes out there.
Thank you for your time today.
Sure.
I'll let you get to your break.
Thank you. Appreciate talking to you, Bill. All right.
Excellent. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Tim Dorsey.
Yep.
I understand you've come all the way to Florida from.
Yes, sir. Missouri, Lake of the Ozarks.
What brought you here? Why do you come and participate in this competition like this?
Well, I've been working with this competition since the inception and working with the HazMat Symposium on coming down and instructing and working with the students. And it's one of the premier organizations in the United States and premier conferences. And I just come down here to make sure I can help give my perspective to deliver the best care and make sure that the students are doing what they can to provide what they can to the citizens of Florida.
We have been watching this leak station for a while this morning. 3 teams have come through already. What was the goal here? What were they supposed to do? What were you looking for?
So this is a 3-leak simulator, so it's a relay. So one participant comes, addresses the first leak and mitigates it, goes back, tags out to another team member. They come in, they assess and fix the second leak, go back, tag the third member, they come back and fix the third leak. So at the end of the day, all 3 leaks have to be mitigated in the time frame allotted with the proper tools.
And you've seen 3 teams so far. What strengths are they showing you today?
They're showing good teamwork. They work together well. They're identifying the leaks and they're providing some methodology to control the leaks. Some of them might all be the same, but they're at least thinking outside the box and doing what they can to mitigate the leaks.
Excellent. Now, you've mentioned, we were talking before the microphone came on, you've been involved with hazardous materials for 3 decades or longer. Right. What led you into working with hazardous materials, and can you remember back to maybe a mentor or why you got started?
I think working in hazardous materials, just starting out as a new firefighter paramedic, was just the case of, it was the unknown, it was just starting. And we had a lot of threats in our community that we had to deal with, and that we were told, you know, it's okay, just do this or this, and kind of raise the hair on your back to say, hey, maybe you ought to think about this or look at some other avenues that we can do to mitigate these problems and training. So that kind of drove me to get training and drove me to work with people. And I know Doug Wolfe, that's down here in Florida, is one of the sponsors of this event. I took my first class at the National Fire Academy with him in 1995, so that kind of started me going and getting me on the path to where I am with hazardous materials in the country.
What do you think the message would be to either a new firefighter coming on the job or maybe a peer who's interested in hazardous materials? What message would you give them if they wanted to know why this is important?
Just absolutely that any education that you can get as a new firefighter or a peer or a brother or a friend is just that education and training is key to what we do, and it's not done at the first class. It constantly is proliferated through your entire career. So just, it's not one and done. It's not, hey, I'll take this class and then 10 years later I'm a hazmat tech. You still have to complete all the methodologies and continue training because you're never done training.
If you were going to talk to your community about the importance of what this training, why this training is needed, why the community should support a hazardous materials team, what would you say to your community?
Well, you never know. Our threats are always evolving. We have threats drive through all the time and we don't know what they are. And that's why we're there, is when the bad things happen, we're there to fix them. If we don't know and we're not trained and educated or have the equipment to fix those things, we're of no good. And that's our purpose with being there for the community.
Is there any other message you wanted to tell people that they should take away from watching this?
Come out next year, join the competition, compete against everybody, not just people in Florida, anybody. We could bring teams in from all over the United States to help out and to compete, to provide this service and see who's the best.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Chief Lamb, thank you for joining us out here today. Can you tell us, you've been involved with this career path for many, many years. Why is a hazardous materials team part of a fire department?
That's a great question. So back when the fire service first started, the one biggest thing that we had were fires. And that's what firefighters did. They put the wet stuff on the red stuff, as we would call it, the water on the fire. But as we evolved in technology and the many things that we do, the processes that we do for the comforts that we enjoy every day, TVs, cars, food, those things, those processes became more challenging and they involved chemicals. So at that point, the fire service had to make that transition. They had to learn how to run calls that were more diverse, more than just fire and putting water on fire. How do we keep our public safe? And that's where hazmat teams came involved. The chemicals that we deal with in processing today are more dangerous than they ever were 30, 40, even 50 years ago, back when the fire service started. So the need for hazardous materials teams to respond to these incidents, mitigate them, and make the area safe for not only the business owners, but the residents in the community was paramount for the fire service.
Now, we've talked a lot about hazardous materials teams today. What is the role of the hazardous materials team when they get to a scene?
So a hazmat team, they're firefighters. They're still firefighters, just like the ones that ride on the engine. The difference is your hazardous materials teams are more technically and more challenged and trained to deal with hazardous materials response. So chemical leaks, fuel spills, things of that nature, these teams come in, they mitigate the incident, render it safe, in order for either to make a rescue or to protect the environment.
And I understand their training is dozens of hours. What type of training do these men and women go through?
So a lot of what you see out here today, these men and women have been through more than 1,000 hours worth of training. The basic hazardous materials technician training is 160 hours. That gives them the pure basic knowledge of chemistry, how to use tools, different chemicals that they may come in contact with, and what to do during that. But then they continue that training by going to more and more training classes throughout their career to deal with even more complex situations. They go to Dugway, they go over to Mexico State where they learn how to deal with bombs that have exploded and what the things that they need to be looking for. They go to Anniston, Alabama, learn how to deal with biological hazards like anthrax, when we had anthrax right after 9/11. So the techniques and training that they have will continue throughout their career as a hazardous materials technician. It doesn't just stop at that 160 hours of basic training that they get.
Now let's talk about you for a minute. You've been involved with the fire service for many years. You're involved with hazardous materials. Why did you choose to go down this path? What's this mean to you?
So hazardous materials response is very near and dear to my heart. When I started in the fire service back in 1991, my thought of being a firefighter was putting the wet stuff on the red stuff. I wanted to drive the big red fire truck and run cars off the road and be everybody's hero running into that fire. And it wasn't really until I got more involved in the fire service that I saw there were so many more paths to being a firefighter than just riding in the big red truck. And one of the biggest things that pushed me in being a hazardous materials technician was my mentor and my friend, Richard Knopf, who was our fire chief at the time. He took our team and he took our department and said, look, we see the challenges in our community, and one of those are hazardous materials. We have a lot in our community. What are we doing as a fire service to protect our community? What are we doing as a fire department? And he challenged us to become hazardous materials technician. Go to the training. He would get the tools and equipment for us to start doing these responses. And from that, I just fell in love with it. Well, that pushed me even harder to say, this is what I want to do next. How can I better help younger technicians become trained? What can we do to put on an event that will help bring in more hazmat technicians, and we push that knowledge to help them protect their community and their citizens? And that's how the Hazmat Symposium came to be.
And let's talk about that, the symposium, this competition. How are they connected, and what are you hoping that folks will take away from these things?
Absolutely. What a great question. So one of the biggest things that we saw when we first started our very first Hazardous Materials Symposium, it was all about the training. You know, what kind of training can we give the responders? Well, then we saw a need to not only give them that training in the classroom, but now we wanted to move it to a hands-on. Let's take what we learned in the classroom, move it out into the field, let them do it hands-on so they really see how that concept works. Well, then a year after that, it came to us and we said, there's a lot of teams that want to compete. They say they're the best of the best, but now they want to show that off. They want to have those bragging rights. So with Response Technology's help, they have come in and put on this Hazardous Materials Team Competition to really allow these men and women to come out and challenge themselves, but more importantly, challenge their skills to say, what is it that I need to do? Can I accomplish those goals or those tasks like I thought? And they come out here and give 110% every year, but they don't just do it at the competition. They do it within their organizations, and that's what's important. They are not saying we're only going to do it because we're competing, but we're going to do it to our community too. And we're going to go out and show we have those skills and those techniques to be able to mitigate an incident, and we're proud of that. So that's what this competition brings to us.
And let's talk to that responder maybe that's watching, who's maybe thinking about participating in this or coming to the symposium. What would you say about somebody thinking about participating?
I would always tell anybody, don't go by what you hear from someone else. Don't go by what a flyer shows you. Don't go by pretty pictures. You know, the biggest thing that you can do is come out, participate. We have such a wide variety of classes. It's not meant just for that hazardous materials technician that has the 160-hour class. It's also meant for our firefighters, those brand new firefighters that are starting out on the truck and they're trying to figure out exactly what path they want to take in the fire service. There's classes structured specifically for them to help them get that knowledge and ability to have those techniques and tools that they'll need to help to further their career. So please, I would ask anybody, if you're interested in anything that has to do with hazmat, and in the fire service, everything we respond to has hazmat in it, even a typical structure fire. So come out, enjoy the experience, take some classes, and see if this is a path that you want to go. If anything, I will guarantee you 100%, by the time you leave this conference, you will have left with a bit of knowledge that you never had, nor did you think you would get until you came to these courses.
Chief Lamb, thank you very much for being with us today.
It's my pleasure and my honor. Thank you so much. Thank you.